Hi there. My name is Justin Thorpe, and I'm excited to welcome you to our webinar on capturing inbound leads with contributed content. Today speaking, we have Matt Camp. He's the Director of Strategic Partnerships at Influence & Co. And Charlie Reverte. He's the VP and GM of Publisher Products at AdThis. Matt will be going first, and he's going to talk about how to get published on influential sites and drive targeted traffic to your website. Then we'll have Charlie talk about how to get value from that traffic through website personalization. Before we get started, a couple of housekeeping items. This webinar is being recorded and will be emailed to you along with all of the slides. All attendees are on mute, and if you have any questions, feel free to submit them in the GoToWebinar console on the right at any time during the webinar for Q&A after the presentations. That's it, so let me pass it over to Matt Camp. There you go, Matt. You should be set to go.
There we go. Does that work?
Yep.
Perfect. Awesome, guys. Well, yeah, thanks for having me on. Thanks so much. And again, a little bit about my background. Influence & Co. is really a content marketing company that focuses on helping companies take their internal expertise and turn that into thought leadership content and then get that published in the right places. So that's why I'm here today, to really talk about that experience, how we do that for ourselves, and how you can do that too. Really, it's funny. Content marketing is really simply, it comes down to people. It's very much, around just treating people not as a target or as a sales lead, but as a true person that you're trying to provide value to. So to really start there, it's about using your expertise to provide value in the form of trust, and do that continuously over time, consistently to stay top of mind for them. So that way, down the road, you are bringing natural inbound opportunities. And you can use this easy equation to just remember how to create a great content marketing strategy and understand the foundation around how to position yourself naturally as that expert for your audience. And really, people have been indicating to them, through a variety of research that obviously, they don't want to be yelled at. They don't want to be talked to through an advertisement as much as it is around providing value through articles. 80% of business decision makers prefer to get information through educational content rather than an advertisement. And this is really a recent mindset shift. It's something that the consumer has the power now, and they're the ones doing the research. And the whole thought leadership mindset for you guys as marketers is about giving, giving, and giving. It's about contributing content that showcases your expertise and on influential sites that get you in front of this new audience, but does it in a way that truly provides them value. Whether it's lead nurturing or social media, newsletters, anything within sales and marketing, this content should be powering valuable thought leadership content should be powering all of these things, all of these activities. And there's a variety of ROI points that I could go on and on about outside of just inbound lead generation, but for today's purpose, it's around increasing qualified leads on your site. Qualified being the key word, inbound, hot, educated leads, that people that are actually raising their hand and saying, hey, I want to have a relationship with you. And we try to think about this from a content marketing funnel. We really have 3 layers to it, where that top layer is the piece I'm going to harp on today about guest contributed content. That's you being published as the recognized expert in these influential sites online, and then driving people to your site to continue to educate them, and that's where AdThis fits in so well to really help optimize those bottom 2 layers about feeding these new relationships the right content at the right time, and really generate inbound leads by having that final layer, the white paper, ebook, gated content, to really capture their email information and really understand how to turn a passive reader into someone on your own site into an email that is a relationship for you to continue to build. And just to give an example of this, I mean, in a real life example, we do this ourselves. We really practice what we preach. And on the left there, you can see our CEO. He's a columnist at Forbes, places like that. For this example, he created a byline article around the LinkedIn publishing platform when that opened up. So he really went out there, educated people on, hey, here's how you should be using this platform. We then had a second layer, on our own site around, okay, if you enjoyed that first article, you'll really enjoy this piece on our own site around the intro step-by-step guide to getting started on LinkedIn using this new feature. So it's naturally giving people more information that is going to drive them down the funnel strategically, and then finally having a call to action, that bottom layer right there on the right, saying, hey, if you enjoy LinkedIn, here's how you kick off your entire thought leadership strategy with this 8-step ebook. So it's really naturally bringing people down the funnel. The top piece, that left side, is what I'm going to be talking about today. And this survey we gave out to editors, really was firsthand research we've done. We have over 1,000 different publication relationships that we have one-on-one relationships with editors there, that we went to them and said, why do you take our content? Like, what about content do you look for people to pitch you and really understand how to get their articles published within your sites? So they gave us a playbook. They told us why they take our content and how anyone can do that. So the one big main takeaway coming from that, it's probably the most exciting statistic, is 92% of editors prefer contributed content from industry experts, leaders in their industry, over objective journalists. I mean, it's stunning how much people are really truly looking for content from the people in the trenches. You listen to this webinar that is living this day to day. This is a huge opportunity to utilize your personal stories that only you know, and pitch it to editors to help them create really unique content for their own site. So they gave us a 5-step playbook for doing that. Really, one of the biggest takeaways from that is the top reason people are denied from getting published on these influential sites is promotional content. I mean, it's pretty easy to know that if you're being salesy, if you're pushing just why you're awesome, it's much more valuable to the reader to incorporate your own insights and to really truly give them value around why you should be published there and how to educate them through this content. So it's promotional content is kind of the number one rejection point, but I'll dive into the other pieces as well. And really to kind of start out with, any piece of content you're creating, it's got to be great to start with. It's got to be something that isn't contributing to what we call content blindness, but it's something that cuts through the clutter and really showcases your expertise and leadership. It does it, you do this consistently over time, and then you also, within the content, educate the audience on why they should care and why it matters to them specifically. So you really try to find that sweet spot in between these three as a foundation for creating great content that editors are going to look for. But while you're all here today, let's start with let's go to the 5 steps on how to get yourself published in these influential sites. And really, step 1 is so simple. It's documenting your strategy. It's incredible how many people, marketers every day just skip this step. It's very easy to overlook, and it's something that 32% of marketers only have a documented content strategy, which is actually down from the previous year. It's amazing. Something that, especially if you have a smaller team, is easy to overlook because maybe it's just a few people working on this. But as you continue to scale and grow and incorporate your entire team in on the strategy, this documented strategy is going to guide you on why you're talking about each piece of content. Really, it helps you generate topics and helps you think of the end person and what they're going to find valuable. So the strategy needs to include establishing goals. It needs to, you need to be thinking about why you're doing this in the first place. Is it inbound lead generation? Is it, trying to position yourself as a credible expert in front of investors? Maybe potential talent to attract people that want to work for the best. Outline that to start with. From there, think about your personas. Develop out the people that you're trying to talk to and understand what they find valuable. And then finally, the key metrics to measure. So there's no hard, fast rule around, if you publish X number of articles, you're going to get, X number of leads. It's more around continuously, preaching this message, continuously creating great content and getting it in front of the right people, and over time measuring your results to understand what's working and what's not. So beyond that, number two is really researching the publication's audience. It's really diving in deep to understand what those editors are looking for, and really demonstrating that you know who they're speaking to. Anytime you pitch an editor, you need to tell them, hey, I saw these articles on your site already that perform very well. This is why my article is going to do well. It's about persuading them why you understand that their audience is thirsting for your specific industry expertise, and incorporate elements to be unique and really really talk about stories that only you have experienced and are personal experience within your day to day. And that's something that while there is a huge benefit to getting published on marquee publications from a credibility standpoint, on Forbes, Fast Company, places like that. If you're really focused on the inbound lead generation piece, which is what we're talking about today, it's about quality over quantity. It's about matching the right person, your right message with the right audience. Content marketing is about doing that consistently over time. So getting published in your industry sites, in your in the niche sites within your specific your audience, what they're reading, and then doing that consistently over time, so that way you continue to get educated traffic, which is more engaged visitors. And to do that, I mean, it's imperative to incorporate direct insights from you in the industry, as quoted here by an editor through our survey. It's about really understanding how to incorporate the things that only you know about, and really a huge tool that we've developed out for ourselves. You can see that here, the company knowledge bank. You can download this on our site for free. You can even just use a simple Google Doc. It's basically a template to crowdsource our company's knowledge. So you want to have your sales team and your HR team and anyone who's touching people outside the company, who's having touch points with them, give them access to a common place that they can consistently put FAQs and consistently put articles they're reading that we know that you should be talking about. Really crowdsource this individual place, so that way any article you create, you have a foundation to start with, and you have topics already that your audience is asking about. And it's going to make the process way faster, especially if you have a bootstrapped marketing team. So beyond that, really, it's understanding how to back up your individual knowledge with data. These are a couple sites that we recommend: data.gov, Pew Research Center, Content Marketing Institute's a great industry publication for us to do a ton of great research. Add this, you guys do an awesome job of doing this research yourself. So it's incorporating general data as well as industry research data to really just back up any point that you're making. And then kind of that fifth step is making sure every time you pitch an editor, it's got to be a great piece. It's got to be something that is professionally edited. You've checked your facts. You are obviously not plagiarizing. This tool Copyscape is great for double checking that for you. I think it's all free. So anytime you're pitching an article to an editor, you don't want to burn a bridge there, where if they publish a piece that has these problems in it, you're making them look bad, and you can get the entire publication in trouble, right? So you need to make sure everything you submit is not only great content that's unique and insightful, but also very professionally edited. So to give you a real life example, illustrate this. We work with two of our clients here in Luba. They run Gravity Media out in New York. It's a multicultural marketing agency. They're awesome people. Run a great business. They publish content with us consistently to position themselves as thought leaders in the space and build their company's brand. And the end goal is creating sales opportunities. So they're taking this approach where they use that step one with us is that documented strategy, that foundation that really points back to their specific audience. Knowledge extraction is that second piece where we're really focused on using the knowledge bank, crowdsourcing from their team to really authentically incorporate their expertise into content, creating the content, and then really using those personal unique insights, and then finally publishing the content. So taking this approach, they personally have seen social shares all over the place, different exposure from that standpoint, won awards, speaking opportunities, but two of their largest sales last year came from this method. So it's a proven method that we use ourselves that works, that it's around just providing value and continuing to give and position yourself naturally as that expert in the space. So hopefully this 5-step process can really outline how to do that yourself. For us, if you go to that link at the bottom, influenceandcode.com/add-this-webinar, if we have a conversation and it seems like something we can help with, we'll give you $500 off your first month. But I really want to leave it there and say, hey, I'm here to help. That resource center, that first link right there, that'll include the knowledge bank template to get started on your own, the survey from the editors that outlines these 5 steps. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, email, or Twitter, and I'm more than happy to help here. I'll kind of turn this over to Charlie, and now that you've got in front of these quality site visitors, it's time to understand how to incorporate that, or how to serve them up the right content on your own site and convert them into leads.
Thanks so much, Matt. Charlie, let me pass the baton over to you.
Great, thanks guys. Can you hear me? Can you see my screen?
Perfect. You look great.
Awesome. First, I want to apologize for my silky smooth bass voice. I'm a little bit under the weather, so hopefully we get through this okay. First of all, thanks to Matt for presenting some really great tips on how to really acquire traffic through content marketing. Some stuff we want to definitely apply at this. And one thing we've seen across the industry as a trend is that sites are getting better and better at acquiring traffic, but still having a lot of issues retaining the traffic and really converting it and getting to do what they want. So that's something we're going to talk about here today, and how to really fix that. So we've all worked really hard, executed the perfect strategy to bring people to our site, and then we do this to them, right? You've all been to websites that as soon as you click into them and land, they slam in your face this subscribe to our newsletter prompt. And not only is it annoying and a huge turnoff, it's just it's a terrible way to start your relationship with a visitor, right? You always want to show value before asking for some, and this just makes people leave and not convert, right? So we've seen people who subscribe to this be generally of lower quality and not the kind of users you want, who you want to first get to know your voice, get to know your brand, we really should be treating our traffic better than this. So what else? So this makes them feel like we're screaming at them, which you never want to do. Okay. So what else do we do? Have you ever been to a site like this? This is an actual website that I went to, and I won't name any names, but I'm pretty sure most of you've been there as well. And the blue part represents the actual content of the web page. Why I clicked the link to visit, and then the article that I wanted to read. And the gray is everything else. They stuffed the web page full of widgets, full of stock quotes, full of breaking news, full of ads, full of recommended content. And this is how it makes your visitors feel, right? There's so many blinking, flashing lights competing for your attention that you don't really know where to look. It's just a really crowded space, and also not a great way to treat your traffic. Each additional widget that you add is contributing more noise on top of your signal, and not a good way to really focus people on what you want them to do and what you're all about. So what else do we do, right? So visitors to our website are not all the same, and they have different needs, different interests, different depths of relationship with us. Sometimes they're first-time visitors, sometimes they're our most loyal customer, and we also most sites tend to show them the exact same content, right? So and this is how it makes them feel, right? Not everyone's the same. And why do we treat them that way, right? Everyone has individualized needs, and we just need to really get a lot better at how we treat our visitors. So as an industry, right, we're good at getting traffic, but really not good at treating people well and turning them into loyal visitors. And this is what happens across the whole industry. So these are statistics from Google Analytics about average bounce rates for websites across several key categories, and I think most of you guys know what bounce rate means, but just to be sure, a bounce is when someone enters your website and leaves without visiting a second page, right? So someone who you successfully brought them in through all your hard work, through maybe even a lot of spend if you're doing paid media, but certainly a lot of sweat equity if you're doing organic methods. And this is how many people are leaving. It's a huge leaky bucket problem, right? And you can work harder and harder to get more traffic, but if you don't plug the hole at the bottom, it's just going to waste, right? So we're going to talk about how you can use personalization to plug that hole and really get a lot higher retention, right? So I like to visualize this as you have a store in the mall, and you're in business, you got your sign up, you got all your inventory set up, and your displays are perfect. And a lot of people are coming in, like walking in the front door, looking at one shirt and immediately walking out without really finding that perfect pair of jeans that are in the back that they would have bought if you can line them up with it. So, what websites you're using today to drive much higher relevance and much more value for their customers, which is what leads to engagement and conversion, is website personalization. And this really means tailoring your content, your promotions, messages, really everything that you can in your whole website to really focus on the needs and be more relevant to each individual website visitor, right? And obviously, you don't do this one at a time. You do this with tools, but it's a lot easier than it sounds, right? It gives your visitors what they actually want instead of sort of the generic experience that you give to everybody. And this is how you're going to be growing your site in the future. Okay. And personalization, if it sounds like this kind of sophisticated, cutting-edge thing, it's actually a lot easier than you think. And it's actually so common that a lot of us take it for granted. So this is a screenshot of Amazon, and if you we've all been to Amazon, right? And a lot of times we forget that essentially all of the pixels on their site are custom generated for you, right? Based upon what have you done on their site, what have you purchased before, what have you looked at and not bought, what's sitting in your cart, and they work really, really hard to really personalize the experience to match your needs, right? And not only of content but of ads. Okay, this is Yahoo, right? And personalization, they've laid this out for several years, and this is their big strategy for how they really want to drive higher retention and engagement. They're still in the early phases, but they want to have this magical algorithm that can pick the best news for you, and really be the only spot you need to go. They personalize a lot of things, even fantasy sports in the upper right. They personalize their weather like a lot of sites do, based upon their best guess of where you are, based upon your IP address. And they go a step further, where Yahoo had built a system where they'll allow you to sign in with Facebook and really import your preferences and all of your likes, and they'll use that data to cold start their personalization and really jumpstart what they can show you versus just waiting for you to use the site for a while and click. So pretty advanced stuff there, and still has a lot of room to grow. And finally, Netflix. If you use Netflix like I do, I really love the hybrid approach that they're using here, where instead of Yahoo trying to present you this this river of news, they group again, this isn't mine, but they group their content into categories, which they also generate dynamically. And within the categories that they recommend, right, they'll also put content within it. So you can first navigate by topics that are relevant to you, and within the topic you can look for individual titles. So I think this is a really great method of doing it. And these are different businesses, but what these examples have in common is that they're all using personalization as their secret weapon to really drive business. And as good as they are, actually, like, I think they have a lot of flaws still, and there's so much more potential that we haven't tapped yet across the industry to do this. And this is going to be the biggest retention driver for the internet for the next decade, right? So we all have watched the social revolution start from early beginnings in Friendster and MySpace, and really take off to now be a thing for granted that essentially every site has social integration. And the same thing is happening now with mobile, right? And as far as how you find content, if you're around during the dial-up days, Web 1.0, we all found our content by, for example, going to a directory like Yahoo.com. And if I wanted to find an article about the Miami Dolphins, which is the local team here, I had to navigate through a sports category and then a football category, and then find the team, and hopefully there's a recent article about something that I like. And that was pretty terrible. So search came along and say, forget all that navigation stuff. Just tell us what you want, and we'll magically give it to you, right? And personalization is the next evolution of that, which is you don't have to even tell us. We're going to use all of these things that we know about you and what we've observed to just magically give you the best possible experience that we can do, without your intervention. So first, in order to personalize, you need to think about what makes each of your visitors different, right? Someone who's a first-time visitor is going to have pretty different needs than a returning visitor, right? So someone who went to your website yesterday and once a day for the past month is going to be really much more interested in the freshest content that you have. Whereas if you show only that to a first-time visitor, you're probably burning some really awesome evergreen content that you have that's like an oldie but goodie that's driving a ton of performance and could be perfect for them. One example is that we had a recipe site, and she had created a Baking 101 article that is a every time crowd pleaser. And frankly, even though she had published it years ago, it had gotten such great SEO that it's every week in her top 5 most trafficked articles, and she effectively merchandised that to first-time visitors to get tons of reduced bounce rate and increased retention for those people. Occasional visitors behave differently than frequent visitors. We all know well that people who are mobile behave differently and have different needs than when they're sitting down. And what your interests are really dictate a lot of what you're going to want from a website. And we're gonna dig into that pretty deeply. And sort of the last thing is that traffic source matters a lot as well. If I came in through search, I might be doing something different than if I came in through social versus for example, your email campaign. But one thing we're definitely leaving behind, at least in our opinion, is demographics. We helped a national diaper company run a campaign to advertise their diapers to moms. But one thing we found is that they were really missing out on, first of all, the majority of actual moms don't at that moment have diaper-age children, and you're missing out on an equal proportion of dads and grandparents who are also in market for diapers. So we really want to move beyond demographics as an industry, but it's going to be a hard move to get into what people really want and really need. So here's some tips on how you can apply this to your site. First of all, this should be obvious, but be nice to your new visitors, right? Instead of slamming this whole sign up for a newsletter door in their face, why don't you offer them some content? Offer some value. We all have evergreen articles, even if we tend to be more about breaking and fresh stories. And this is a great thing for you to promote to first-time visitors, right? It's really great. I might definitely want a free half marathon training plan, and you can see here this is targeted to new visitors. So what else? So one thing we found is that returning visitors are actually 10 times more likely to sign up for an email newsletter. This shocked us when we first saw it. But if you're showing this email sign-up thing to first-time visitors when they show up, you're actually wasting all that inventory that you could instead use for something like on the previous slide to really get them to know you better and show some value. Then if they come back, that's a great time to ask for that sign-up, because that's proof positive that they remembered you and liked you, and they're here for more and likely would want to become a permanent part of your audience. Another thing we've learned is that social traffic really tends to share more. And this might sound obvious, but if someone lands in your site from a social network, from Facebook or Twitter, it might indicate that they're in social mode versus if someone's doing concentrated research or work, and this might mean that they're more apt to socialize. And we've seen that showing a share promotion to people who arrive from social traffic, personalizing which calls to action you show to visitors can increase the sharing rate by 2 or 3%, 2 to 3 times, which is really a huge deal. And you can combine these techniques. You can mix and match. When you feel it's appropriate to go for an email, you can sweeten the deal a little bit by offering some value and some really giving something back to the user in exchange for what you're asking. So all these tips really combine to be a much smarter way to show calls to action and messaging to your website visitors to really be a lot more relevant to what they want and what they're ready for. And then sort of the last example we'll use as far as the widgets go are for mobile. Right here, CoolStays is an AdThis website who we like a lot, and they use this mobile sharing widget here at the bottom of the site, which is responsive and really a much easier way for people to socialize and share the article versus trying to find these small buttons on the web page that most websites use in their desktop view. All right. And the message I want to send here is that all sites can personalize. So Minneapolis Running is a site I showed a few slides ago, and we love them. They're one of our favorite users. And you might think, look, everyone who goes to Minneapolis Running is A, in Minneapolis, and B, into running, which is not nobody could fault you for that. But they really have developed a really awesome base of content within their website of things that are running specific, but also adjacent to running. So in this case, there's a food article here about how to make delicious lettuce wraps. That when you go into the content, this is relevant to people who are trying to eat healthy as part of a training plan to improve their running. And they've gone really like a lot beyond the Minneapolis audience and have used search SEO into articles like this, as well as social, to really grow their audience beyond Minneapolis and really scale their business around it, right? So what at first might seem like sort of a simple, narrow website really has a really diverse base of users who visit, right? So if someone's not in Minneapolis, you probably don't want to recommend an article of Minneapolis running events. Maybe try it, but might not be the right thing. Some people are into running and food, right? Or specifically, they're looking for running and apparel or running shoes. right? Those are very different things you might want to recommend to people if you know what their interests are. And some people are even running parents. And Justin shared with me an experience that he had visiting Minneapolis running, and he used AddThis. AddThis knew that he was visited websites about family topics, and our recommendation widgets had automatically shown him an article about running strollers, and it's sort of this serendipitous moment of, oh man, this is great. This is really working. So there's a lot of things that you can do here, and including using AddThis tools to do all the use cases that I've shown in these slides. So we want to keep it short and sweet here, but hopefully I've gotten the message across that personalization is a great way to really grow your traffic, to complement your traffic acquisition strategy with traffic retention and keeping people as a loyal part of your site. So yeah, thanks very much, and I'll hand it back to Justin.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Charlie. I'll grab presenter mode back from you. Awesome. Well, we do have a few questions. Thank you for submitting questions. We'll just pop through a couple of those, and then we'll call it a day. First is from Matt Jenkins and Matt Camp. This one is specifically for you.
Okay.
Matt asks, and Matt Camp, you should be unmuted. Matt Jenkins asks, have you worked with media companies looking to build relationships with other media companies, publish guest content? If so, have you positioned expertise in a way that feels mutually beneficial versus the media company viewing you as a competitor?
Yeah. So specifically,
Jess, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. If I understand the question correctly, making sure the content works well, where we've teamed up with other companies in the past so that you're mutually, basically the goal is, there's a lot of content marketing companies who can focus on, owned media, so your own site, your gated content, your blog, and things like that, where we've naturally worked with them to kind of open that up and utilize our relationships to distribute content. So from a partnership level, that's how we've worked in the past. I think I'm understanding the question correctly, but yeah, I mean, it's something where as long as you have that funnel, all three layers clicking at the right time, or clicking in the right strategy, you're naturally having a high-level topic, guest posted, a deeper dive on your own site, and then a call to action with a very specific guide. That's how you're going to naturally get in front of new people and bring them to your site and turn them into leads.
Fantastic. Thanks, Matt. Charlie, this one is for you. If you want to get ready. Tony asks, some of these tips sound very complex and time-consuming for a one-man band, i.e. an individual freelancer or individual businessman. How easy can you adapt these tools into that particular situation?
Yeah, thanks very much. Great question. So, Justin, I think you're getting a little feedback. If you can. Great, thanks. So there's some of these things sound complex, especially if this is your first time trying it. And I didn't want to be overly promotional here, but the whole purpose of the AddThis audience targeting portion of the website tools that we've created is to really make this very, very simple and one-click drag and drop for you using our website tools. So if you come into our dashboard, we have an easy targeting system where you can select any of these audience types that I showed. So new versus returning visitors, you can select visitors by geography, you can select visitors from social source, and especially visitors by interest, based upon what AddThis has seen people browsing on other sites. And then using widgets we provide, you can very easily create all the different types of messages that I showed. So we actually have creatives and dynamic widgets that are mobile responsive that you can use to do all the things that I've shown simply by installing the script tag and managing it through the website. And we also have a set of recipes that you can use to, if you're looking for ideas, pull in these things and brainstorm other topics. So we've worked really hard to make it as simple as we can so far, and we're always working to improve that. So I'd encourage you to give the tools a try and certainly give us feedback on ways we can make it even easier to use.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Charlie. One more question for you, Charlie. Um, Matt Jenkins asks, do add this tool to integrate with common email providers like MailChimp to send emails to your subscriber list?
Hey, great question, thanks. Yeah, so the answer is yes. So we integrate with MailChimp, Aweber, MadMimi, and oh man, I'm spacing out on the fourth one. Uh, it's one you guys have all heard of. Just on point blank, I don't have it. But if you're not using one of the systems that we integrate with, we also can save the emails that we collect on your site in a special storage for you that you can download them as a CSV file and import. Campaign Monitor is the fourth system, but we can save them for you, and you can download them at any time to import into another system that you use if we don't support it.
Thanks so much, Charlie. One last question for the panel, and Matt, and this works for both of you. And Matt, we'll start with you on this one. Pull the question up. Marcella asks, any tips specifically for bloggers?
Yeah, there's kind of multiple ways. I mean, blogger outreach, I'd say, getting your stuff published on niche blogs is going to be one of the best ways to drive inbound business opportunities because a lot of times those are the sites with great fan bases that are truly listening to the message there. And you can really naturally, when it goes back to that niche, quality over quantity of reader. A lot of times it's those blog followings that you can really target. For launching your own blog, I'd say really, you got to start with that documented content strategy. Start with a knowledge bank from your team where you're incorporating expertise from across your entire team to really, start creating great content, and then consistency is key. So just always make sure you're measuring everything you do to know that know what's working and what topics are generating more interest. But yeah, I'd say try to incorporate as much of your team as possible through those tools.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Matt.
Yeah.
Charlie, any tips for bloggers that you get specifically around how they can personalize their site to drive more inbound leads, and I guess in a bigger way, really develop deeper relationships with their customers?
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. So
absolutely. So
one things that
one thing
bloggers
that
have
bloggers
that's different from what you would think typically see at an e-commerce site or a brand website is often like a rich back catalog of evergreen content that's still relevant today. One of our designers, he for his blog had written many articles about Apple over the years, and when Steve Jobs passed away, he noticed that he got a traffic spike of new people coming to his site for the first time, coming in to his old articles, which is very atypical. Like usually he gets traffic to his homepage and things he tweets. So they came into his old articles and they landed from search. So if any of you guys look into your analytics, you probably will see that same pattern. You probably are already aware of it. So for a lot of sites we speak with, a lot of blogs specifically, their top articles, half of them are not things that they've published in the past week or are on their homepage, but things that have really gotten great SEO or have come kind of back into things that people are interested in because of current events. So we really encourage people to go in, identify articles that are popular using their analytics, and then re-merchandise them across their website to first-time visitors if they're semi-recent, or really to anybody if it's older articles that have become relevant again because of something in the news. So that's something that blogs can especially leverage is their rich content repositories of evergreen articles.
Thanks so much, Charlie. Unfortunately, that's all the time that we have. Thank you to everyone for attending. Thank you to both Charlie and Matt for sharing their knowledge. If there was any questions that we weren't able to get to during the course of this session, we'll be following up with you specifically on those questions, and we'll also be sending, as we mentioned, this webinar was being recorded, and we'll be sending the recording and the slides around to everyone. Additionally, if you want to continue the conversation, we do have a hashtag going for this webinar. It's hashtag ATWebinar. Both of our presenters, as well as myself, will be monitoring that and happy to continue the conversation. on as long as there's interest. Again, thank you so much for coming today, and definitely stay tuned for additional webinars in the future. Cheers.